Today will provide you with some really good high value information and really inspire you to make some healthy changes in your lives. We even make sure we give you some pointers and tips at the end of the podcast and action items so that you can actually make healthy changes. So stick around to the end so you can get those action items.
Stick around to the end. I'm Coach Brandon. And if you're with us live on Facebook, either in one of our groups or on one of our personal profiles, because we're homies, give us a thumbs up. Tell us you're here. If you have questions, drop those questions in the chat. We love those. Also, if you are not in one of our groups or you're not homies with us on Facebook, I don't know what's up with that, but you can do that. You can watch us live. You can be part of the conversation, part of the discussion. So do that. Yeah, come and find us.
Yeah, come be part of our community, which happens to be exactly what we're talking about today, the importance of community. Mm-hmm. Did you know that when people are socially connected and have stable, supportive relationships, they are more likely to make healthy choices and have better mental and physical health outcomes? It's true. I personally think that one of the things we're still recovering from after COVID is getting that sense of community back. I personally spent a lot of time during the pandemic sequestered with just two people. And one of them was someone that I was caring for, like actually physically caring for. And I've always been far more introverted than people realize I am. But being alone with the same two people every day really took a toll on me. Not having that sense of community and having people around me to support me for the camaraderie and also the growth that happens when you have people that challenge you in a very healthy way. I need that. We all need that. And I think a lot of us are coming out of the pandemic still and realizing how very important that is to us, but also how difficult it can be sometimes to find a community where you feel like you belong and not somewhere you have to fit in.
Yes. Yeah. Historically, humans are tribal, right? That's what a tribe is, right? A community. And I've personally seen the importance of tribes and community throughout my career, especially what happens when we're removed from our tribes.
Yes.
And I think we all got a really good education in that over the last few years.
For sure.
I really had my first sort of lesson in this in my work at the VA and working with people who have been in an ultra strong tribe dynamic, right?
Very tight knit.
And and they have a place and they're reliant on their tribe, and then suddenly they're removed from it. And the psychological effects of that were just tremendous.
Absolutely.
Tremendous. So we really naturally gravitate toward tribes. We love team sports, and even when we don't play on a team, right? We root for teams with other fans of that team, right? We form groups. The group process is super valuable in the therapeutic setting. 12-step groups are highly successful and an undeniably crucial must-have cornerstone of recovery is the group, I think. So we need those. We need that.
Yeah. Speaking of 12-step groups, I actually have to admit that a few months ago, I started going to Al-Anon meetings and really truly understood after going for the first time, even with all the stuff that you and I have done together, with the stuff that we do here at Contra Costa Fitness, that there's really a huge focus on community there, right? And just seeing how important it is to people going through some sort of recovery to have that community and what it really looks like and what it feels like when you're in recovery. It is a pretty powerful thing to have that community behind you.
Totally. Yeah. We human beings, we're social creatures, right? We're not meant to be in isolation.
No, not at all.
So I was, when we decided that this would be our topic today, right? Like I decided, I was thinking about, what the most important characteristics of a community are. And what I came up with is shared purpose, right? Shared space, not necessarily physical space, but I think that's definitely important depending on that shared purpose, and frequent gathering and interaction. Right. So And I think those things are vital, because when we have those things, then communities do these tremendous things for us, right?
Right.
They help us regulate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even my self-regulation skills, right, are things
Yeah.
I've learned from other people in my communities,
Mm-hmm.
because communities share information and ideas.
Yeah.
Communities give us roles,
Mm-hmm.
right, which give us a sense of purpose and importance and
Mm-hmm.
value. Communities give us accountability and support.
Yes.
A real community is going to check on you, right, when you
Mm-hmm.
don't show up or when you need help, right?
Yep.
So we talk a lot about that, like what you just brought up, right? The difference between fitting in and belonging. And I think that's,
Yes.
what a real community provides, is
Yeah.
belonging, so long as you are in the right community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a really good point that you bring up. Finding your community is a place where you have that sense of belonging and not feeling like you need to find a way to fit in.
Right.
And when you find that, you can start to feel the effects of being part of something bigger, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It stops being work. It's not work anymore. You can just be your true and genuine self.
Totally. Yeah. And I think you bring up something really important there. Like a real community also sort of becomes part of your identity. I think that being
Totally.
part of something bigger, that's
Yeah.
huge.
A good example, if you think about it, is your family as your tribe, right? Your first community where you should feel that sense of belonging. Social interaction is really important when you're young and your brain is growing and you're developing the model of what community is through
Right.
your family and those interactions. I personally have a really awesome mom. Hi, Mom. I know you're listening. But she always made me feel important and valued, but I did struggle to feel like I belonged in my family unit. I know a lot of people struggle with that growing up, and having the idea of the family is your people, and it's drilled into you, and while feeling like you don't really get to be your true genuine self around your people, it makes it hard to find a community later in life, a really good, healthy community. But
Right.
I can tell you from personal experience that finding that community and realizing that you don't have to be the person who's always this or always that, you can just be you. It's really mind blowing when you get there, and it's a freeing thing to experience. And for me, it's made getting through some really hard things a lot easier. And knowing I have a community of people who truly love me and care about me, for me, like the real me, that's important.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that model of community that we build as children, right? And that model is never going to be perfect.
No.
Right. No family is.
No.
And that's why it's important, I think, to continue to to develop that. I don't know if there's a better illustration actually of the importance of community than that right there, than the family unit, right? And how important it is, right? Like if we grow up with a dysfunctional, or in one way or another, we develop that model around something that isn't that, where we don't actually feel like we belong and we can't be our true genuine self, then it becomes I think even more important to discover that and to seek and discover that later in life.
Yeah.
So what about the other end of the spectrum though? Like what about, like, I think the importance of community is just as crucial there, like, in the aging population, right? Like,
yeah,
I know you found some really good studies of that,
did.
that while we were researching this.
I definitely did. And there's lots of research that demonstrates the importance of community as we age and get older. And actually, according to the Mental Health Foundation in the UK, neighborhood social cohesion was really, really important. And it was associated with having lower depressive symptoms in older adults.
That is super interesting. So people who lived in neighborhoods where there was more social interaction had less depressive symptoms.
Shocking, right?
I mean,
be friends with your neighbors.
But I didn't really think about it on the neighborhood level, right?
Yep. And I also found a
Fascinating.
study done by Harvard that found when people had really strong social ties, especially older in age, they were less likely to experience cognitive decline than people who spend most of their time alone.
Yeah.
In fact, one of their larger studies that had quite a huge population of people they studied, the results suggested that when people are lonely, their risk of dementia increases as much as 40%.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we've all, I don't know. I mean, I used to work a lot. I used to do a lot of what I did in care homes
Mm-hmm.
and skilled nursing facilities. And man, yeah, that is on display everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, like not only is having a strong community a good thing for our mental and emotional well-being,
Mm-hmm.
but we also tend to have better results when trying to reach our
Yeah.
health and fitness
Yep.
goals as well when
Mm-hmm.
we have the support of a community.
Mm-hmm. What happens when you're part of a community and you're embracing, say, a weight loss journey, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
According to the Mayo Clinic, social support is
Ah,
essential for weight loss. Why do you think that is,
that's really
Brandon?
interesting. So I didn't know about that one, but that is, yeah. I mean, accountability, support, all the stuff that we talked about, what communities do, right? And I think those two things are tremendous: accountability and support.
Yep. And another thing that's helpful is, I think, when finding the right community, especially on any kind of health journey, is having guidance, right? This can be tricky, though, because if I'm getting guidance or advice from someone on something like, let's stick with the weight loss example, right? What worked for you might not work the same for me. And so then I get frustrated. So that's one of the reasons I think that our community here at Contra Costa Fitness is so beneficial, because we have not just one, but two coaches that you can get good advice from. But in all seriousness, I recently have gone through a pretty extensive lifestyle change. If I'm being honest, I'm still going through that journey.
Sure.
And you, Brandon, you're a great resource and coach because of your background and experience and everything that you've gone through. So it's a win-win. You've got someone who recently has trudged through it and someone who really knows what the struggle is like from lots and lots and lots of experience.
Yeah. I think that is the benefit. One of the benefits of a good, strong community is you have different levels of experience or different experiences, right? And you can have discussions rather than, say in the just straight teaching, and teacher and student model, right? Where you just are being, fed information, right? This is a real discussion. We have real discussions here. So yeah, I think that I think also the shared success, right, with your community is super motivating as well. And I think helping other people, like being of service, is a big deal, right? And helping the other people in your community is also tremendous and motivating as well.
Yeah, and it's also a lot more fun working towards a goal when you're not doing it alone.
Yeah.
Like working out, for example. Let's talk about working out. How many people do we talk to that are perfectly fine? They're already active. They are capable of doing their workouts at home. They have their own thing. But then they end up coming to us because they realize it's way more fun to do a workout with your friends and people you can laugh with, people you can joke around with, instead of just hanging tight at home and doing your thing.
Totally. Yeah. Well, to be honest, I mean, we encounter a few of those people who will actually do it on their own. But most of the time, that's why people are coming to us.
Yeah.
Right. Is because they won't do it on their own. Like I am far less motivated to work out on my own than I am with a group of people. And I'm a personal trainer. I do it for a living. And it's still like, and I really grew up with that model and know what I'm doing. But it is far more fun and far more motivating to do that with a group.
So all those things make your results come a lot quicker. They make it a lot easier, for lack of a better word. And we probably could ramble on and on and on about the importance of community for absolutely ever. But now we really need to dive into the best part, my favorite part, the action item. So,
oh man,
what's your suggestion, or maybe give us, what's your first step in finding that connection, finding your community? What should people do if they don't have that?
Well, feel like I'm kind of on the hot seat here.
You are.
Well, there are two things that I really like believe in,
Okay.
right? And one is a matter of being honest with yourself, right? Like
Mhm.
about what you need from a community or what kind
Fair.
of community you want to be in. And keep in mind, sometimes we belong to more than one community, right? Like
Yep.
I'm a coach, I'm a
Mhm.
musician, I'm into archery, I'm
Mhm.
a dad, I'm in recovery. Like all those things have their own communities.
Yes, they do.
So you find your community, more than one community, but you find the community based on what you want, right?
Mhm.
And what you're looking for. And it's easier now more than ever to find those communities, right? Like too easy, really. So my first tip, I think, is to try lots of communities, right?
Good advice.
And until you find that community that you love and that loves you. I think that's really important. So don't be afraid to like move on from something that isn't your jam.
Fair.
And don't get don't get discouraged.
Very
Right?
fair.
Not every group is for me. I had to find my groups within those things that I'm into. It's like stick shift. Grind it till you find it. So in context of your health and wellness, maybe you belong to a gym that doesn't have a community, and that sucks. Right? That sucks. It's hard, and so it's not hard to find more community oriented gyms now, unless perhaps you live in a place that doesn't have any of that. I'm sorry, but that can be rough. You might have to find that community perhaps online, but there are more community oriented gyms around, especially if you're near Concord, California. Cough, cough. Right? Yeah. But, get on the Googler.
Yeah. And also, though, community doesn't necessarily always have to be this large group of people.
Totally. Right.
It could be, a smaller group or maybe one other person. I always try to remind myself that it's quality over quantity. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so maybe you have a really good friend that you don't feel like you get enough time with. And maybe you just pick a time once a week, once a month, whatever works for you. And you do something active together, even something as simple as a walk. It's a win-win because you get to talk to them and catch up with them while you're doing something active and beneficial to your health.
Totally. I'm going to kind of put an asterisk on that, I think, because I think there's a sweet spot. I think you really like communities can be too large, like for myself anyway. Like I don't thrive in like a gigantic community. Like I need an intimate setting.
Yeah.
They also like too small. So I see all the time, right? People who are they're like reliant on a partner.
Yep.
Right. And it's just like one or two people.
Yep.
And one of them drops out, and then it's like, yeah, I'm dropping out too. And so that doesn't necessarily work either. So find the right size. I think you got to have like, more than like, your cousin and
totally.
But so the second belief that I really have returns to your point about fitting in versus belonging, right? And there can be a lot to that, but a friend of mine says it really well. Create the fellowship you crave. And I'm a trainer, for example. I'm a trainer and a coach, and guess what? Like, I really don't like this industry for the most part.
True.
Like this big, community of trainers, and coaches, and just the fitness industry. Like, I just find it super disingenuous and predatory, with some exceptions. I also know some wonderful people as well. But even in the immediate vicinity, right? Like, we've got, a few exceptions around us, but for the most part, it's gnarly out there.
It really, really
not
is.
into it. So I decided to create the community that I believed in my heart of hearts is both physically and emotionally safe, and genuine and loving, without being super precious. We're a little bit edgy here, right?
But a little bit, just enough.
But it's all heart and soul here, and that's
Yeah.
the way we like it. So that's the way we made it. So don't be afraid to do the same.
Mic drop.
So that's it. Yeah. Grind it till you find it.
Yeah. Keep searching for your community.
Yeah. Do
Try
that.
a couple things out, and if first you don't succeed, try again.
Yep. And then create the community you crave, create the fellowship you crave.
Absolutely. Well said, Brandon.
Yeah, every once. All right, we're gonna get out of here. If you have questions, please let us know. If you have a different definition of a community, I want to hear about that. Yeah,
yeah,
please do. And or if you have an experience about with how community has benefited you, or maybe the opposite. Maybe you've had a bad experience. You can share those things too. Yeah. That's part of that, grind it till you find it, and keep going until you get that, you find that community. And I hope that, we are part of that and provide some of that for you, because we love you. So if you do ask questions, we'll reach out and say hi. We're happy to help.
We will.
And if you're not in our community yet and you're just listening, we appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate that. Sometimes I, look from outside the fish tank. But please, we do welcome you, and and you guys who are part of our community and who we see out there lifting each other up. That is awesome. That's what it's all about. And if you need to be lifted up, please do raise your hand, and we're always here for that as well.
Yeah.
And we're out of here.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys. We love you.